Hey,
Greetings, travelers.
greetings, travelers. We are live.
We
Oh
are
my
live.
God.
It's been a while since we've done a live.
Yeah, Carrie and I did one from last, 2 weeks ago for Wasteland Jamboree. So we're going to try to keep these going every other week, gang. So they may be Wednesdays, they may be Thursdays. We'll try to give you a heads up. This week it was supposed to be Thursday, but hopefully, if the rain holds out, we will be at the Synchronous Fireflies tomorrow night, Carrie and I. So fingers crossed. We need the
Awesome.
rain, but let it go a day later.
No, totally. Otherwise, you may be listening to us on our normal podcast because this will go there. So,
Yeah.
yes, things. Mark, do we have any breaking news or anything exciting to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, just more of the same that we've had for forever. The whole UFO things, the whole stuff like that. That it's nothing yet. They haven't done any new stuff, so I don't think it deserves the breaking news music until.
I will say I did order Neil deGrasse Tyson's new book, and as soon as I read it and see how he changed his mind, I obviously need to go on another cruise with him.
Yeah, you see,
To explain his splaining that he did.
yeah, and then him and Shatner are doing a thing together. I saw they're getting they become science bros. So
I know. They met on the cruise I was on, and it
Yeah.
sparked them doing their kind of show throughout, which I think is great for them. You know, Dork can
wait.
be happy in the world.
I do have breaking news. I picked up Jackie Sonnenberg's new book, The Fathoms Below. We love Jackie, good friend of the show. Pick it up. It looks spooky and underwater. So new monsters. I'm all excited. So just a quick.
So when I said, do we have breaking news? And you said, no, we don't. And then you just randomly found a piece of breaking news.
I forgot I got it because of my epilepsy brain. So I got it yesterday and I've been a little busy. So
do you remember what we're talking about today?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do remember. So it's one of your favorite subjects. We've mentioned a couple of these in the past, but it just, as I went down the rabbit hole for the new book, Dark Heart of Appalachia, I found several of these. And so I was like, we've got to just do wait a minute. There are a ton of ladies in white.
Yeah. And I talked about this a little bit on one of our first episodes we ever did, with the fact that there appears to be like this entity, whatever it is, in all kinds of cultures and stuff. Like everywhere talks about this figure that appears, but I cannot wait to hear the specific ones that you have found, Mark. So first of all, I need to make sure the Wayback Machine has snacks.
Okay, yeah. And I'm going to do this one a little different. I'm going to tell some ghost stories and then get into the facts and stuff behind them. Get your s'mores out by the fire. Let's see how I do on these. So,
okay,
here we go. These are.
And when I say I can't wait, I mean literally I can't. Get going. Let's go. Let's go.
Okay. So, the road unspools beneath the headlights like a dark ribbon cut from the fabric of midnight itself. It's the kind of road that seems to just exist outside of time. A two-lane thread stitching together farmland and forest, where the fog settles low against the asphalt and the trees lean inward as if sharing secrets. A young man is driving home from a late shift, and exhaustion has made the world feel soft around the edges, the way things feel just before sleep or just before a nightmare. Then something pale flickers on the side of the road. His foot eases off the accelerator. At first, the lizard part of his brain says deer, something white, something moving, something that shouldn't be there in the dark. But as the distance closes, the shape resolves itself. Not an animal, it's a woman. She stands on the shoulder barefoot. Her feet must be cold, he thinks, though the thought comes and goes like a breeze. She wears a long white dress that hangs against her body like wet silk, as though she's just come out of some water. Her hair falls dark around a face he cannot read. She does not wave. She's just there staring ahead at nothing. Maybe she's looking at something he can't see. He pulls over because what else do? You don't leave a woman alone on a midnight road. That's not the kind of person anybody wants to be. He rolls down the window. And the cold rushes in. He says, "Ma'am, you okay?" She turns her head toward him slowly, the way someone might turn if every joint ached in their body. And then he sees her face, just pale as milk, expressionless. Her eyes are too dark to reflect the headlights, like two holes in the world looking out from somewhere deep. "Can I take you somewhere?" he asks. His voice sounds smaller than he meant it to. She nods just once. She opens the back door, and the car dips with her weight, the suspension groaning, kind of like an old man rising from his chair. He pulls back onto the road. In the rearview mirror, she sits perfectly still, hands folded in her lap, the dress pulling around her. He asks where she's going. Think, she whispers an address. He knows the place. It's a house not far from his own. So he drives on in silence, and the woman doesn't speak again. The road unspools, the fog drifts. He pulls into the driveway. He turns around to tell her they're there, and she's gone. He sits there, heart pounding, staring at the indentation of the seat where someone had just been sitting moments before. The fabric is still warm, a small pool of water. He knocks on the door of the house, and an older woman answers. Her face is creased with sleep and confusion, and he apologizes. He says, "What happened?" And he gives the name the woman in white whispered to him. And the old woman's face goes as pale as the milk, pale as a face in the headlights. "That was my daughter. She died 20 years ago on her wedding night."
Creepy. Very
right?
creepy.
How many times have we heard that story?
Oh, a million times. And I also want to know what car this is that has fabric seats. But
old school.
Oh, I know. So are you going to tell us where that story comes from?
That story came from Tampa Bay legend that I had heard on the Howard Franklin Bridge. And I wrote that many years ago for Hellview Cemetery, for Our Lady in White ghost we had in the haunted house.
So it was a Mark Muncy original.
Thank you. I modified it a little bit, bumped it up a little bit more modern, but
minus the fabric seats. But I appreciate it.
I forgot about that. I forgot that wasn't a thing anymore. I have fabric seats in my new car. I just got a new Eerie mobile, and it has some fabric seats in the back. It has some faux leather, but there's some fabric on it too. So
okay.
All right. So ladies in white, they're called many names over the world, but I mean, they're pretty much everywhere. Somebody knows a woman in white, the White Lady, La Dama Blanca, Germany, Die Wiebe Frau. Yeah, it's the Lady in White. She's the most common ghost archetype in the world, I think. Maybe the Hat Man.
I think she's one that floats through all the different cultures. Like, if you like that I got purple ink on my hand, it's very. But I think she's one, that you constantly hear about. So, you hear the child ghost running and giggling and things like that. But a consistent description, I agree, has been the Lady in White.
Yeah, I mean, roadsides, old theaters, castles, forests, bridges, rivers, hotels, cemeteries, anywhere there's tragedy, there's a Lady in White story. So
yes.
She's a bride, she's a mother, she's a lover betrayed, something like that. Because we recognize that. Even if we've never met anyone like that, we know that story. Even if you don't believe in ghosts, you might believe those stories. Just something about her rings true, right? We've all got that sense of loss, or we know someone who's had that sense of loss. But then also we just have that tingle at the back of the neck, right? It's a little creepy. So
no, more than a little creepy, Mark. I know you're like, it's a little creepy. I'm like, nope. No.
All right. So we're going to travel tonight all over the place. We're going to go from Europe to the Americas, all over, ancient to modern, and just hang on, right? We're going to end with a couple big ones. So
I can't wait. Let's go.
All right. So first off, why is she in white?
I always assumed it was indicating a degree of innocence.
And it's we associate it with purity. We associate it with a lot of things like that. I think some of these, first off, white is the most visible color in darkness, right? Human night vision is monochrome. The rods in our eyes take over and we lose color perception easily. Everything becomes shades of gray. So when you see a pale figure at night, especially in headlights or in moonlight, the brain kind of interprets it as white. So white dress, white gown, white shroud. She's just how our eyes work in the dark a little bit. So could be a trick of the light many of the times. But all right, that's step one, right? That's my first.
Step one is the science behind.
Yeah, we gotta start the debunk first and get that out of the way. So we did that whole
Mark,
Bigfoot
after
episode.
last episode,
I know
you are not making friends with the debunking. So
I know, but I've got to bring out the science because that's the folklorist in me. We've got the reality, we've got the stories, then we find the unusual. That's what I love. So, all right. So, secondly, white, like we said, symbolizes everything that ghosts represent, no matter the culture. Weddings, funerals, death shrouds, bridal veils. It's, young children's baptisms and everything. It's beginnings, it's endings, and ghosts are something that missed one of the two.
Yeah.
Right? That's 90% of the time. Okay, so that would make sense for ghosts.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree.
Okay, so third is this thing is ancient. Right? This goes way back. So I talked about the Wiede Frau that haunts German castles. Right? Brazil has that Dama Blanca. She's always in the misty lowlands. She's always weeping for her lost love. She's very banshee. But she's been around, documented since the 1500s. The Philippines, as the White Lady of Ballet Drive, she's common in taxis, been seen since the 30s. I love it. She always does that backseat trick in the taxis. Now, Canada has the Lady of Montmorency Falls, and she's one that famously threw herself into water in her wedding dress. We have that documented, and she's been seen since the 1920s. And of course, the South is just full of them. We're going to get into some of those, but this is not a modern invention. Ancient Rome.
And the lady at Boatyard Village.
Yeah, we're going to get to her. And then the Victorian times a lot, but we have medieval sightings of them. And like I said, we have ancient Roman sightings of a house of Hades, where a woman in a white toga. Hey, that's the same thing. So, all right, let's go back to that. Okay, the White Lady of Montmorency Falls. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Sorry, Quebec. You guys have your weird French. I don't know what's wrong with you.
Oh, be careful there. I do not agree with that. And the Canadians are super nice, so they're not going to say it. So I am. Their French is the same level of weirdness as everyone else's.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but I can make fun of them. What are they going to do to me? They're Canadian.
No, Mark, stop it. Okay, continue.
They're just going to be nice to me? I mean, come on. All right, so north of Quebec City, Montmorency River, it goes off a cliff nearly 100 feet. It's higher than Niagara Falls, and locals will tell you that with the pride. So they are beautiful in the summer. When we went up there, it was beautiful, very thunderous. In winter, they freeze up, and it looks just gorgeous. But all right, so here's the story. 18th century, British and French fought over this land like wolves, and a young woman lived near the falls, and she was engaged to be married to a French soldier. They were planning a spring wedding. She sewed her dress herself and made it as white as the winter falls, and white as snow, and her fiance died fighting the British. So she heard the news on Tuesday. She didn't speak for a week. And then she went to the edge of the falls in her white dress, stood there for a moment, and then just stepped out into the mist. Of course, locals say she's still there. She comes out of the spray wearing her wedding dress, and her dark hair is plastered to her face. And she just seems she's been lost 2 centuries ago. And they see her on summer evenings when the mist is coming, usually. And then sometimes she turns pink. just a hint of pink, particularly as the night goes old. And others have heard her just crying with grief, so they hear her cries. And she is called the Lady of the Falls. And,
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So one of our listeners or watchers is saying, I hate to tell you, Mark, but the reason why we have certain rules about war crimes are because of Canadian soldiers.
Oh, that's true. That's true. They can be. Yeah, they can be. Yeah, thanks, Jake. Yeah, they can be brutal when they have to be. So
that's true. But I love that they've seen this, and it's a place our travelers could go and see something neat, and they might see a woman in white.
If nothing else, it's a beautiful falls. It's bigger than Niagara, so or taller than Niagara. So, all right, Dama Branca. We're gonna go to Brazil. All right, so humid lowlands of Brazil, and right on the jungle, right next to the roads. And if you go there, it smells like wet earth. And of course, my allergies are killing me because it is nothing but blooms down there. Everything blooms down there. And so Dama Branca, she appears near rivers.
Okay.
And near old colonial roads. And this is where, travelers move between cities on foot, horseback. She appears in the streets of small towns at midnight. Very important. She usually only appears on nights with a moon. It's got to be at least a quarter or higher. The story is she died violently. Her story varies. One time was in childbirth, and her body gave out as the child was born.
Okay.
One version is betrayal. A lover promised marriage and instead killed her.
Oh, that seems a bit extreme.
Yep. And then another version is that she was a murdered bride, that she was married and then the husband just married her for her money and then murdered her that day.
That one's a little less likely, but okay.
Yeah. Her story is usually she was just someone who loved someone who didn't love her back. That's how it pretty much goes.
Yeah.
And she is seen in a flowing white gown, and hers tends to glow.
Well, if I was going to be a ghost, mine would glow and also sparkle. So throwing them out there.
And again, she cries, and you can hear her for miles. And this is known to wake dogs and make them howl, and it wakes kids, makes them scream. According to the stories there, she's always on the side of the road. She waits for somebody to stop. But with her stories, those who stop are never seen again.
How do they know that, though?
Because they don't. That's the theory, is these missing people were taken by her. So she's supposedly
she a boogeyman, basically? She sounds like they made her into a boogeyman.
Well, what she does is she only appears to men who have wronged women, men who carry guilt. She looks in their faces, she judges them, and then finishes them off. That's
so if you think your male spouse has been unfaithful, I suggest a trip to Brazil.
Yeah. We're going to go on a drive right next to the jungle on this dirt road. Have fun. It's romantic.
It's very romantic. I guess that's one way to find out.
Yeah, there are a couple of the stories that, she spared the innocent. But there are some stories that she doesn't care. She'll just take you out. She's, again, could be a mix of every woman who died before her time in Brazil. That's a theory.
Well, you know what? Okay, so I have a thought that goes along with this one. The more and more you talk about energy or residual energy and things like that, right, is you end up thinking about the fact that, like, we talk about the stone tapes, that is usually some emotional situation that is occurring, usually, right? Like the repeat of some event. And you just go, okay, well, are some of these entities created by that emotion? Almost like the topas we talk about, is that they're kind of brought into existence, and what it is that causes them to go together. You know what I mean? All that stuff. It's just, you got to kind of wonder, like, is this a mushing of an emotional wavelength, right? Because the other people are like, They lost someone they loved, and that's why. Loss. I was wronged.
Yeah.
I think it's just fascinating because if you think about, could this stuff just be something that attracts a certain level of energy and it presents itself in a way? Because what's interesting to me is, we talked the other day about true crime and witnesses telling stories about what things are, right? So to have witnesses describe them, though, in the same way, it's interesting because that changes the whole dynamics, because normally they wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, they wouldn't match up. Exactly.
So are they actually visually seeing it, or a perception thing where it's got a different kind of imprint, if that makes sense, on some part of you that can relay it that way? Anyway, got very metaphysical there in my conversation.
That's all good. That's what we do. Yeah, here's a comment from Jake. As I also think there is a South American lady in white story about a woman who drowned her kids or something like that. I could be mixing stories up. That we've heard baby minders and things like that all over as well. So yeah, that's again another stereotype. We'll get into them another day. The baby killers. Yeah, that'll be a great title.
Yeah, so let's not have that be the title, and maybe call them family annihilators. Anyway.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
All right. Ready? One more before the break here. And this is going to be the White Lady of Balete Drive. And this is in Quezon City, the Philippines.
Ooh. So, okay.
Balete Drive. It's part Manila, and which is a city of 14 million people. And everybody drives the little tricycles, the jeepneys, and there's always neon signs and smoke from fires. It smells wonderful when you go there. It is all wonderful cooking. And so this place was a little different. It was a baliot tree, just kind of a banyan, sacred and feared in Filipino folklore, and that gave this tree its name. But the tree is gone.
Okay.
Tree is gone. Now, she is a hitchhiker ghost. She appears most often to taxi drivers late hours. Basically, when the city's kind of gone quiet, she stands on the side of the road. It's a young woman in a long white dress. Again, the dark hair hiding her face. And she just raises the hand. And the taxi stops. And she climbs into the back seat. And again, car feels the weight. And he feels the temperature drop. That's the key. The hairs on his arms start rising. And he goes, looks in the back. She's there, just hands folded in her lap. And where to? And then he suddenly he starts driving. Doesn't hear her talk. Does not know where he's going. But just that he has to keep moving. And when he gets the courage to look back in the mirror, she's gone. And then he realized that door never opened. The car never stopped. So she just somehow disappeared. So he finds the wet spot on the back seat as if she'd been sitting there in a wet dress. Sometimes they find nothing. And sometimes they find out they've been driving for hours or miles in the wrong directions.
Wow.
And they don't even know where they're at sometimes. And they have to call in and say, I don't know where I'm at. Can you figure this out? And remember, they don't have a lot of GPS there and stuff, just starting to get that there. Of course, the story is she's a lady who was killed in a car accident and perhaps murdered. And again, perhaps a bride. And the story changes depending on who tells it. But those sightings do not change. Only taxi drivers, only late at night, only on that street. And so taxi drivers avoid that street after midnight. It is no longer a place where drivers will pick you up on those nights, unless you get like an Uber or something.
Well, I mean, even an Uber would be interesting. But what's fascinating about stuff like this is I wonder how much of this is almost a game of telephone when it comes to having to generate a story to explain what just happened. She obviously had to be a bride. She obviously had to be somebody who died. Who knows? I mean, the fact that she gets in the taxi cab, we've talked about hitchhiking ghosts before, right?
Yep.
But there's the story the hitchhiking ghost down here across the French River Bridge, right? Or the Broad River Bridge.
Anyway. French Broad River, yeah.
French Broad River, all the words.
Yeah, combine them all. Yeah.
Yeah. And where it was, young boys who weren't on the bridge that went and were swimming, and he got, tragic story, he got pulled under. That's in Dark Side of the Smokies if you want to see it too. But one of the things is that he gets picked up by people going across the bridge.
Yep.
Right. But he wasn't on the bridge, but he almost gets in the car like that's what he wanted to do to leave. Right. Like that. So I kind of go, is this a hitchhiker ghost or even Lady in White ghost? Have they presupposed the story onto her?
That's what I think. I think this is another one of those. It's kind of like our fearmonger, where something is eating the fear and creates more. I think this is something where the lady wants people to feel sorry for her. This entity needs sadness, it needs grief, and maybe that's why it uses a form that we're all sympathetic with.
Or in my cosplaying ghost theory, she has a boyfriend that lives a distance away, and traveling as a ghost could take a really long time. But if she hitches the ride, I think while we take a quick break, our travelers should noodle on that fact.
Grab your drinks, gang, and we'll be right back.
Prepare to be devoured. The Wolves of Wharton is a 6-part complete book series by Eerie Travels producer Bo Lake. It has been called dark and visceral, steamy, dramatic, and a fresh take on the werewolf mythos. If you like action, adventure, a large serving of body horror, and some steamy relations, the Wolves of Wharton series is for you. Pick it up wherever books are sold, or at linktree.com/Bo__Lake.
All right, moving on. Our next travel, we're going to Norfolk, England. You've been to Norfolk, I think?
Yeah, no, I've been to Norfolk. I was like, okay, I am going to have some tea. Let's go.
Fish and chips for me. All right. The White Lady of Worstead Church. Now, this woman, however, breaks the trend. She is not tragic. This is in the village of Worstead in Norfolk, where, it's beautiful, green countryside, quiet. And the church tower there has stood for almost 1,000 years. It's so close. I think it's like 1,000 next year. And there is a lady in white who comes at Christmas. She appears on Christmas Eve. And she walks through the churchyard in a white gown. And she's happy. She is pleased. And she's offering her hands like a blessing to everyone as she walks. She's not crying. She's not searching for a lost lover or missing child. She's just there and wants to bless everybody. So
what if that's not what's happening, and she's there and she's finished casting her spell to suck all the happiness out of the festive holiday?
So she's full? When
I
get full on Christmas, I nap.
I'm just pointing out that there's some supposition that occurs with these lovely ladies of the white night, so to speak. No, but I think it's just interesting. People are like, she's happy doing this. Like,
yeah. So anyway, those who see her are supposed to be blessed for the year. She's apparently a protective spirit, and she's probably some medieval woman who loved the place. Story goes she tended the church and just died at peace and never left. Some people say she's
a nun. I mean, nuns were white back then, so.
And a lot of people say she's older than Christianity, that she's like one of the Roman ladies who lived there.
Or maybe a druid.
That's possible too.
Okay. Anyway.
But anyway, yeah, with the Roman
keeps getting shot down.
Yeah, but as a Roman, she would have been in a white toga, white dress, and would have become a lady in white, especially she worshiped the old gods. If she's Celtic, same thing. But they wore a lot more browns and greens, we think. We're still not 100% sure what they wore.
I would say that definitely this is a travel one should go on. It's absolutely so much fun. Just England is fun. I enjoy
that
it.
church is beautiful for its age. And of course, people say it's a Christmas story just to make kids feel a little more magical in the area. But some of the people I talked to, they know what they saw. They swear it. And most of them go to the church around midnight just to see if she's going to be there. And a couple guys told me she's always there. So there you go. If you want to spend Christmas Eve in England, I got one more from around the world. Now, this is in Germany. And that's the Weebe Frau. I've mentioned her a couple times, the white woman. And she haunts the noble families of Europe. She's said to appear just before a death in any family. She's just this omen of grief. And she's seen a couple different places. So I'm not sure it's the same one. But let's say the most famous lady of Germany is supposed to be the ghost of Countess Kunigunde of Orlemond. And 14th century noblewoman, according to legend, she murdered her own children in a desperate attempt to win the love of a man who would not have her because she was a mom.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's
there you go, Jake. There you go. There's your unaliver for the episode. So she was punished, of course, and she was beheaded. And when she died, she was condemned to walk the earth forever in her white dress that she was executed in. And she often appears to the Hohenzollern family whenever one of them's about to die. And she has been seen for centuries.
Was there any history of them refusing to marry somebody or being a duchess like that?
I know that countess in history, but it is legend. We don't know. There is no documentation of her being executed for murdering her children. She was executed. That's all we know. So this is a little bit of supposition.
Interesting.
Yeah. So is she a woman who just made an unforgivable choice? And she's paying the price? I don't know. Now, she has been seen in other castles, supposedly. Berlin City Palace and a couple other palaces in Bavaria. Usually she's seen and the kings and the princes say, oh, it's a dream. But then somebody dies like 2 days later. Somebody close to the king or the prince.
What if that's just like their Grim Reaper and, they are drunk all the time, so they forget to make themselves invisible?
Yeah. I don't know. Now we're coming closer to home. Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes.
So this is one I was going to say for Dragon Con, but it's a lady in white. We got to talk about it. This is at the Fox Theater. They always haunt theaters. Heart of Atlanta, right on Peachtree Street. And that building really shouldn't be there anymore. It should have been demolished a long time ago because of Atlanta's growth, right? This is an old movie palace. It's got domes and minarets. It's got arched windows that just completely go against the Southern tradition.
That is not like how you'd build a Southern city, but it's cool. It's cool looking.
Not in Atlanta. So it was built in the 1920s. It was originally built as a headquarters for the Fraternal Order of the Shriners. And they wanted this as a beautiful building that, kind of matches their rituals.
I was going to say, let's talk about the rituals that maybe were cast there, but keep going. Do tell.
Yeah, again, another episode for future is, I don't know if I can do the Shriners because I would be murdered in my sleep.
Oh, Mark, you've got the Shriners would be behind about 6 or 7 groups right now.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the ninja to take me out. So anyway, so the Fox Theater is beautiful. Oh my gosh. We loved it. So 5 stories its lobby goes. And it's decorated with stars and crescent moons. And the auditorium itself seats nearly 5,000. And
that's huge.
Yeah. And it's kind of like the Tampa Theater, where its sky is painted like an Arabian Night. They even run a projector that drifts clouds across it. And it's got a Moliere organ with over 3,000 pipes, and it rises up from the floor on a hydraulic. The man who plays it wears a turban, just like the original guys way back in 1929.
See, we were talking about this, that whole organist thing. Well, because organists used to do the soundtrack for silent movies, and then I'm still wondering if there was like a huge decrease, like people were in school to become organists for movie theaters, and then all of a sudden it was like, darn it.
Well, then they become church organists, and if you see the movie Carnival of Souls, she's a church organist. But yeah, it was a thing. And then we write about one in our new book that was being built as a silent theater. They put in the pipes. They never installed the organ because talkies came out, and it never went that way. But the pipes are still there. That's in Ashland, Kentucky. We'll learn more about that in Dark Heart of Appalachia. Pre-order soon. All right. So but the Fox is, of course, haunted. This is not speculation. This isn't rumor. Every member of the staff will tell you. Performers will tell you. Security guards will tell you. There are many, many ghosts in the Fox. But one stands out. Guess what she is?
A lady in white.
A lady in white. People have seen her on the upper balcony. Yes, other people have said it. The grand balcony where the seats are red velvet. She's again there standing perfectly still, like she's waiting for a show, but maybe she's waiting for a guest, somebody else who was supposed to join her. And then she has been seen walking through the mezzanine late at night, usually during night cleanings. And the theater is empty, and you just hear that HVAC system going. And then they're like, see her and go, oh, what is this? She, again, white gown, and it trails behind her. Some people say it's like mist behind her. So not a trail.
I'm adding that. I want my dress to glow, be sparkly, and I want a train that looks like dress, but then is misty. Okay. Somebody make this happen.
Okay. So now performers have said they've seen her in the wings, just as pale figure, just out of the light, in the darkness. And a couple stage managers said that they felt this cold presence when they were up at the soundboard, and they turned around and just saw the glimpse of white smoke going away. And now the ushers have said that they've seen her just sitting in a row of empty chairs. And they're like, ma'am, who are you? And then she's just gone instantly. Again, some people say she was a patron who died during the show, a heart attack, a fall. Some people said there was a wedding there and she was the bride who never made it to her wedding, died somewhere on Peachtree Street on the way there. Because they held weddings there a lot, and her spirit's just kind of wandering there looking for the wedding. Of course, some people say she's tied to the land, something older than Atlanta, because there's a lot of history there and we don't know it all. We know some of it, but we don't know the ancient stuff. So again, no story written down, but everybody at the Fox knows her. So they all know the cold spots. They will point them out where they've had them. They all know the balcony, and they all see her out of the corner of their eye. Woman in white, the eternal bride, still there. So,
well, see, Mark, when we're Dragon Con this year, you cannot trick me into going into that theater.
Yeah.
So I like that.
All right. Our last one before I wrap up with our closing thoughts about Ladies in White in general is one I wrote about in Eerie, Florida. We've talked about her on the show when we did the whole episode on Tampa Bay Ghosts. There was a place that looked like an old fishing village from the 1800s, early 1900s. They built it as a tourist attraction. It was called Boatyard Village. And it was a great place. They had an amazing restaurant called the 94th Aero Squadron. And you could actually sit there and listen to radio broadcasts from the tower for the Clearwater Airport right there, the St. Pete Clearwater Airport. Can you imagine that now? That's not going to happen now. But but that was fun. It was, World War II themed, all that. They had a lot of fun, quirky shops, and they had a theater. And the theater there had a ghost. This was built in the 1970s.
Yeah.
There's no record of any bad things happening there until much later when there was a fire and some other things, but nobody ever got hurt. It was abandoned at that point. They were trying to rebuild it. It burned down. It didn't happen. The rebuild didn't happen. It was already a dead tourist area anyway. People actually went to Clearwater Beach, which was right on the ocean and a much better.
Absolutely.
All right. So Boatyard Village, this ghost, this lady in white, looked Victorian. Everybody said she looked Victorian, and she had a parasol, like a classic Victorian parasol. So some people said, oh, she's a ghost of some production here. They never did anything with a Victorian theme. This was like a kind of like an old theater where old TV celebrities used to go when they couldn't get another job. There was that, and then there was the Gateway Mall dinner theater.
Yeah, I was going to say Death of a Salesman.
Yeah, exactly. South Pacific, things like that.
Oklahoma.
And, the odd couple.
Rushing down the plain.
Yeah,
okay.
A lot of Simon and and then a lot of anyway, yeah.
Wow. Sorry. We have Mark late at night trying to remember Broadway names. Moving on to the ghost.
Neil Simon. That's the word I was trying to remember. Neil Simon. Anyway, that was what was going on there. So where did this woman come from? Now, she famously would appear during shows on stage. And people go, what the hell is this? They were doing I think it was South Pacific. She walks across the stage and they're like, what is this Victorian woman with a parasol walking stage front and just walks across the stage mid-song, and like they were singing Bally High, and what the hell?
Well, she could be. Now, hear me out. We always hear theaters are haunted.
Yeah.
Which is very true. But I am kind of wondering, maybe she was an actress that wanted a role in something like, I don't know, Mary Poppins, who knows? And just didn't get the role. So instead, she comes and just upstages everybody.
And one of my favorite people was the guy who played Major Healy on I Dream of Jeannie. Again, name escapes me for the moment. I lived in this apartment complex for a little while, a condo, and they Gateway Theater or Boatyard Village Theater had rented the condo next to it for all these old stars. So I would watch these people come and go. And then he was walking his dog. His dog was named Hi Bob. I remember that because that was his joke from Bob Newhart had given him the dog. And he was telling me one day that he was in the middle of the show and this lady in white came out and just walked up to the middle of the stage, and he was actually playing it off. I think it was The Odd Couple. And he's like, ma'am, can I help you? And then she just vanished in front of a studio audience that flipped out.
I love and dislike that story immensely.
And he said, well, we can't beat that. Do y'all want to stick around? And they all stayed for the rest of the show.
I would hope so, because I'd want to see if she was coming back. I mean,
yeah. So Boatyard Village, the theater burned down.
Hasn't she been seen there? If I recall this story from Eerie, Florida, right?
Available in fine bookstores everywhere. And Cracker Barrel.
Every Cracker Barrel you can think of. But,
yeah, so the theater burned down, and then Boatyard Village kind of, like I said, the tourist part of it died. At the time, this was the 90s, it became like a home for 976 and 900 numbers, people there just answering calls and stuff before call centers were really a thing. Then it was closed, and then it got bulldozed. And then the Clearwater Airport and the Coast Guard bought the land so that they'd have more room to fly in and out and to do operations. And so it was never rebuilt. And it was just marsh. It was just reclaimed by nature. And it's great. It's beautiful. There's a heron's nest there and snowy egret's nest there. It's beautiful. And we thought that was the end of it. But kayakers out on the Bay, Tampa Bay, would go around there and they'd see this lady in a white dress with a parasol walking through the freaking swamp. And some say she was kind of immaterial. You could see through her.
Well, you know what I kind of wonder is you talked about all of this being built in those time periods, but people have been here for longer than that. And I don't, the way you described her, I also think of women not just in the Victorian time period, but there was a whole time period where they dressed a lot fancier as well with the big butt skirts, stuff, and they had parasols. And I kind of wonder, what if I put a twist to this that maybe it has nothing to do with any building or residence, or even that there was a theater there, but it has to do with the fact that maybe she was murdered and killed and is buried there and just walks around her gravesite. How about that for
I still think she might be attached to an object there that was like a prop or something that got brought there and she just never left. So
I like that. Mine is more true crime related and spookier. So
I like that too. So all right. So I think the woman in white is not one ghost. I think she's kind of all of them in a way.
I think that it's, we talked about this before. I think it's something that is not like that kind of spirit. I think it's a different kind of entity, and whether it absorbs that, whether it looks like that, these ladies are seen all over the place. There's one in Philly that stands out in front of people's cars when they're going around a bend, and several car accidents have happened because she's there. It's you just, I don't know what it is. And one day I think it would be neat to find out.
And it goes back to Bloody Mary was a lady in white, and all these other, it's always a ghost in white, right? That's why we see the white sheets in so many pop culture things, and it's always this shimmer. Shoot, half the Paranormal Activity, she's in white.
Well, you know what? You just made me think of something when you were talking about the lady. What did you just say? You were saying something about the lady in the residual. Oh my goodness, my brain just died.
Paranormal Activity, or
no? Well, it's interesting to me that if you when you're thinking about the lady in white, always wet, blah blah blah. Even was the same thing in The Ring. But Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary, yeah.
I'm just gonna say she was one of the world's best serial killers. I don't think we give enough credit to some of these ghosts that if something happens, then you get killed.
Yeah.
Because their death toll is way higher than some serial killers.
That ghost in Brazil, come on. We just said a lot of people wind up gone.
You combine two of my favorite topics, Mark, which is the vengeance ghost and the lady in white.
Yep. And I agree with why we had that theory, and Destiny ran with it, that the lady in white is dating the Hat Man.
I'm telling you, they're entities of some kind. They're seen all over the place. I'm a big fan, and Destiny's you can find the link in the show notes. But
Shadow and Me, buy it on Bandcamp. It's like $1, and you will give her more money than if you stream it for a year straight on Spotify that she would get. So do that. She's amazing. We love her. So, and we
love the song.
Yeah, the song is beautiful. And it's kind of funny. We're talking about all the theater stuff. Today is, when we recorded this, is the anniversary of the chandelier falling in the Paris Opera House that inspired Gaston Leroux to write Phantom of the Opera. There you go. There's some theater ghosts. All right. So again, thank you patrons for coming on, and thank you guys for tuning in to the show. We appreciate it. And I like some of these quotes that she just likes to go for a ride. Yep. Thanks, Rick. And then I was going to say maybe she likes stealing a Taurus. Yeah. Thanks, Jake. And filling up the tourists with a curse is great. And Destiny's music is great. Yes. Romeo, my dog, sings to the Eerie Travels theme. That's great, Jake. I had a dog that used to bark to the Empire Strikes Back Imperial March theme, and that was always fun. So,
hey,
all right.
Mark, shiny objects happening.
Yeah, I can't help it. I had to push a few buttons by the end. All right. So, thank you, patrons. Thank you, listeners. Thank you guys who showed up for this YouTube live. We're going to do it again in 2 weeks. It'll probably be a Wednesday or Thursday around 7:30. I hope you join us. We'll try to promote it more in the first earlier instead of
we might have to do it instead of Mark.
Yep, probably better. So, Ladies in White, she's the figure in the mist. She's the movement out of the corner of your eye when we turn. She's a story about heartbreak, of love gone wrong and promises broken, lives cut tragically short. I mean, she's the memory of every woman who died too young, tragically or violently. She's the bride who never walked down the aisle, the mother who never got to hold her child, and the lover who waited. And she's just an echo of grief that just lingers wherever. And she's not just a ghost. She'll always be with us. So on the roadside, in the theater, or in the mist, and the lights go out, and the house is quiet, see that white shape in the corner, it's okay to turn on the light and look and make sure it's not just a pile of laundry. And we'll see you on the other side.